Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to give you a podcast on the heart chakra and the tearing of the cords of the heart chakra. Many of us have lost people that we love. We can lose people that we love through death, estrangement, and also the breakup of actual relationships where the relationship now is no longer present. It can be a partner, someone in the family, or a friend. And these breakups of relationships, wherever there is loss, will affect the heart chakra. And I wanted to do just a special podcast on this because I think there's a lot of suffering and pain and hurt and sometimes anger when this happens. Energetically, it actually affects the heart chakra because there is a cord that would be going from you to them, from your heart to their heart. And when the relationship ends, whether it's through death or you're not going to be together anymore, the cord actually severs, and that's what causes the pain energetically. That's how you would understand it. So there is a break in the cord, and it actually hurts. You can feel the break, actually. You can feel that it's tearing, and it actually tears. Sometimes it tears out of the actual aura, but it pulls, so it tears out. So when the cord breaks, it's actually that feeling. You're not imagining it, it's actually happening energetically. Instead of the cord running from you to them and being a really lovely cord, there's a huge cart severing, and you feel the severing. This has many effects on you, and also the other person, of course. When the person dies, for example, it does sever. Even though the cord remains between you on a physical level and in your daily life, that one is actually severed. I know that sounds hard to explain because it sounds like there's actually two cords. And I think in some ways within the cord there's the soul cord, then there's the human cord. They're intertwined. They seem to be wrapped. When I see the picture, they're wrapped over each other. When someone dies, the human part of the cord is severed. You might still have the soul cord, but the human part is severed, and that's what you're feeling. That's what the grief is, the loss, and the terrible pain that comes with that loss. It's a terrible aching pain. It's quite excruciating, actually, when somebody dies who you love very much. And it will take a long time for the cord to actually break off and energetically release. And that's what the healing of grief is, that we still have the soul connection through the soul cord, but the human cord is now severed and broken. The same things happen when you go through divorce or you enter a relationship, friendship breaks down. You might still have the soul cord operating, but the human cord now is severed and broken. If the person's still alive, there's always opportunity for that cord to relink or begin again. Sometimes bits of the cord are actually left when they're alive down here. For some reason, there's always a little bit of, I suppose, hope or something in the cord. And these cords are love cords to these people, whether they're past or whether they're still with us. And so that we lose the love. And people don't really seem to see that. They know what, but energetically, that's what's happening. So the feed of love that we were both giving each other on the human aspect of the cord is no longer happening. And that's what you also feel, the loss and the suffering, because the love's not coming backwards and forwards in a human level. We might still have a soul connection with them, but if actually the relationship has severed down here, usually that part's not happening. It will tend to be happening and be more active when someone's actually died, which sounds strange, but because we still love them and they died, whereas here we still love them, but the other person might not be feeling the same way. I believe that in strong friendships and relationships, the love on the soul cord and the heart chakra remains. Whether it remains on earth is really up to the two people who are involved. Even if the relationship has ended, I still have love for them and will continue to be sending them love and sometimes pop them in my prayers. So it's not like they're not really here for me, even if they've decided they don't want to continue the relationship. The pain from this is quite strong, and energetically, it's really felt. You'll really feel it. It's comes and goes as well. Sometimes it'll be worse than other times. The best way to heal it is really to first of all accept that that cord is severed and then work at fixing it up. I think you should do a lot of healing on your heart. Put your hands there at night. The heart chakra is. Put in a lot of love into your heart, because remember, that's the thing that's missing. It's not just that the cord now on the human level is gone, but you're missing the love that was going backwards and forwards between you and feeding and nourishing you. You're not getting the nourishment anymore. And I think that's what people really miss when, particularly when someone dies and you know there's a connection, but you don't feel the nourishment in the same way in the human world. Sitting with them, having a cup of coffee, going for a walk, having a laugh with them, having a chat on the phone. Those things don't exist anymore. Therefore, the love isn't coming that way. I would then fill up the heart chakra with lots of love, like really fill it with love and keep filling it with love, because that's the thing that's missing. The love that you shared isn't active now in your human life. It's very sad to lose people, whichever way it is, and it's very painful. I think the reason that people don't heal from it is, one, they don't understand what's happening on some energetic level, and they don't start to feed their heart chakra or heal their heart. And that's to do with what you do. You can ask for healing for your heart from your guides, that it's be healed. You can ask that you are shown healing practices that you can do. I believe that feeding ourselves with love, filling up with pink light in the heart chakra, putting gold light there and asking for healing of my heart from the damage goes a long way to getting over it, and also fixes the huge big gaping hole, the tearing hole that's left in your heart when these things end, because it is like it's torn out, the cord is ripped, and you can feel the rip. It's that part of the human part of the cord is ripped out of your heart chakra. This isn't the happiest podcast I've done, but it maybe helps to make us happier later. The other thing is to focus on the love that you do have around you, people who are still here on earth, and to fill yourself up with love with that, and to be more loving. It's very important that you don't switch off your heart chakra because you were hurt from the death of somebody and you don't get over it, or the breakup of certain relationships. There's always people around who need to be loved and nourished. And while we keep that action of loving in our life, that means it's going out and it's coming back in. People really struggle with this. People don't talk about it a lot. They just walk around with their heartaches. And I think that the heartaches and the cord being ripped out can actually be healed as long as you do a little bit of work on yourself. It's about nurturing yourself afterwards. It's about healing it. I actually see it like when the cord's been ripped now, I usually put a little bit of healing light over where the hole is, basically, because there's kind of a ripped out bit. Put healing light over that, put gold light, put pink light, and keep sending healing to it so it can heal over and you can actually love again. I think the people who don't heal completely do not love again because they don't want to be hurt again, so they just walk around with this huge big hole in their heart, which I don't think is very good for you energetically. And that's the other thing that you need to be mindful of, that if you don't do some work on this energetically, you'll often get sick, get more illness around that area. A lot of people 18 months after someone actually dies get sick. They might not get a terminal illness. I don't mean that kind of sick, even though that can actually happen. But they get sick. You can see this actively working in life when you've seen a very close couple and the person dies, and within sometimes days, the other person actually dies, or months. They pass within a short time. And that's because the cord, when it was ripped, caused just so much trauma and damage that it actually made the aura leak, because you leak there now because there's this huge gaping hole there. And they actually die. Often they'll die of a heart attack or some illness that comes on suddenly, and then they just pass. The pain of being without the person is too much, and they just pass so they can be with them. As long as you remember that the soul cord of love is always there, even in those relationships that have ended badly. Remember, you did love that person at the beginning. There was a lot of love between you, and in some cases that remains. It just sometimes becomes untenable to be together anymore, or the lessons learned, or it's time to move on. But the love always does remain. You can get over this. You can heal a broken heart. It can be done, and you can find joy again in your life. And be happy in the fact that that soul cord of love is always there, particularly with the ones who've passed. The soul cord of love is always running backwards and forwards, and you can send them lots of love and lots of beautiful, compassionate thoughts and loving things that you say to them. You can still talk to them. It's just that the human cord's pretty, pretty broken. I'm not sure how they feel on the other side, because now they're in spirit. We're not. We're sort of here in spirit, like our soul's here and our human body, but they don't have the human body, so they just have that soul connection. But you can also ask for them to send you healing for your heart, particularly if you had a really good relationship with someone who's passed, and that will be done. And then also ask your guides to heal your heart, and then it will be quicker. We can all heal energetically. It's just a matter of doing a bit of work, seeing how we can do it, be keeping positive and knowing that love can come again in our life. Don't let these things stop you from loving. That's the most important thing I want to say, because you're frightened of being hurt. You can always heal from the hurt, but to be a loving, kind person is the most important thing that we can do. And I'm sending you lots of love and lots of light for this week.